What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT, back from my mini holiday vacation. And I just got done watching the Falcons lose in overtime to the Commanders 30-24. And this game made me come to a startling realization that the Falcons could go into next season with the worst head coach in the NFL. And I'm not overreacting. I've noticed that ever since the Falcons started out 6-3 and they since then have collapsed, the big flaw with this team isn't that the defense isn't good. It isn't the fact that the quarterback play has been up and downs. Even with making the change to Michael Penix, I still don't feel like this team has lived up to its full potential because of who the head coach is. Because when you struggle in the most basic elementary aspect of being a head coach, which is managing the clock, it's a pretty big red flag that you're not a good head coach. And Raheem Morris, the more you watch the Falcons play this year, the more evident that this dude is only a good coordinator and he's in over his head as the head coach. Because me and you have better clock management than Raheem Morris does playing Madden or college football 25. There is no excuse to be a head coach at this high of a level and you have two timeouts and you don't use them when you needed to. He made the same mistake in this game that costed the Chicago Bears and Matt Eberflus his job eventually against the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving. Raheem Morris now, to me, if you are the Atlanta Falcons, you have to cut your losses before you waste another year of Michael Penix on a rookie contract because he is held back by an incompetent head coach, because that's what Raheem Morris is. And don't come in my comment section trying to race bait. Oh, here you go. You want to fire a black head coach after 1 year. I don't care about the color of your skin. I care about, are you qualified to perform as a head coach at this level? I don't care if you're white, black, orange, or yellow. You should be able to handle managing the clock, because me and you can do it on Madden. It's not that hard. You have a young rookie quarterback. You call a timeout in that situation, and then how do you have a field goal kicker in this new age of the NFL where you got kickers that are attempting 68-yard field goals and yet your kicker can't hit a 56-yarder? I thought it was a basic criteria that every NFL kicker could at least kick it from 60 yards. It doesn't have to matter if they can make it. Do you at least have the leg strength to make it from that distance? And when you throw out a kicker that can't even make it from 56 yards, it's another indictment that you have an incompetent head coach. I love Raheem Morris as a person. This is not personal. But when it comes to finding the most qualified head coach, did the Falcons accomplish that with their head coaching search last year? Because remember, they picked Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick. And you know what Bill Belichick always emphasizes the most? Dominating the situational football. You know, having good clock management, understanding when to use your timeouts. Raheem Morris doesn't have a good grasp on that. There's a reason why he failed the first time he was a head coach in Tampa. And the same reasons why he failed in Tampa are coming back up to the forefront with this loss against the Washington Commanders. This team 2 months ago looked like they could have been a dark horse Super Bowl contender. What has gone wrong ever since their 6-3 start? The coaching. This man is a defensive-minded head coach, and he allowed Jaden Daniels to drive Washington down the field where Michael Penix doesn't even get a chance to touch the football. This is inexcusable. You're supposed to be a defensive-minded coach, but yet your defense can't come up with a big stop when they needed it the most. You suck at managing the clock. I think that these are two bleeping alerts to the Atlanta Falcons that you need to move on from Raheem Morris. You need to run one and done this guy and move on to finding the next best thing. You mean to tell me that Ben Johnson, the current offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, wouldn't be interested in this job, this would be the most desirable job for any head coach available, because this is a team that is built to win. F all that, you need 2-3 years to rebuild. Jim Harbaugh just took the Chargers to the playoffs in his first season as their head coach with several constraints, not having a talented roster, having cap limitations. And this was the same team, by the way, that allowed the Raiders to hang 60 on them on Thursday Night Football last year. Most of those players who were on that field during that loss, Jim Harbaugh has, and yet he's been able to turn that team around. You know, this was a team in the Atlanta Falcons that was favorites to win the NFC South, which is supposed to be the weakest division in the NFL. And I understand why it is that. Because all of these coaches outside of Todd Bowles, they suck. And Todd Bowles isn't even that great of a head coach, because I'm wondering, how the hell can you lose to Raheem Morris twice in the same season when we see a head coach that constantly find ways to fumble wins? Like, he got lucky that he was able to escape with the win against the Las Vegas Raiders, for crying out loud. I mean, I don't know how many red flags the Falcons have to see out of Raheem Morris to realize that this dude is not going to cut it as the head coach in the A. He's not. Don't sell me you need 2-3 years to rebuild when there have been several examples of head coaches who have won right out the gate. This was supposed to be a playoff team. You might as well have just ran it back with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith was on to something when he was starting Jonnu Smith over Kyle Pitts, and y'all don't want to admit it. Y'all don't want to admit it, but it's okay. I don't care if you dislike this video. I don't care if you unsubscribe. I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is, it doesn't matter how good Michael Penix becomes. I believe Michael Penix is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he's going to get hindered, and he's not going to be playing in meaningful games in January because he has a doofus as a head coach. What we saw out of Raheem Morris, these final 45 seconds of this game, was doofus coaching. He needs to get fired sooner rather than later. Don't wait until around this time next year to fire Raheem Morris, and you just wasted 2 years of Michael Penix's career. And fire Terry Fontenot to go along with him, because he sucks at drafting. A lot of the free agency acquisitions that the Falcons have made haven't really panned out. I mean, the Falcons need to go in a different direction quick. You got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. And the Falcons have to fold them fast before they end up being a dumpster fire for the next 5 years with Michael Penix playing on a rookie deal. You know, when you are investing, sometimes when a stock is falling fast, you don't give it time to correct itself, because sometimes a stock can crash and continue to further crash, and you can lose a lot of money that way. You know, the Falcons have to cut their losses before they end up ruining the promising young quarterback that they took in the top 10 of this past year's NFL draft. It was disgusting what we saw out of Raheem Morris tonight. They need to leave him in Washington, and he needs his key card access revoked Monday morning. He no longer should have access to any of the Falcons facilities, because he should be fired.